comments from our guests? Okay, hearing none, we can move right to our recognition award.
So it is my pleasure this evening to recognize a long-time Waterford resident who was raised here in Waterford, and her presence in Waterford has touched the lives of so many of our Waterford school children throughout her life. I'm talking about Barbara Brigham. And Barbara has been connected to the safe transportation of our Waterford children to and from school for 33 years. She received her bus driver's license, right, Barbara? Back in January of 1981. At that time, it became kind of a family affair. She transported her two children, as well as, I believe, a niece and a nephew. She was driving the bus. Sometime right around 1997, when the board no longer owned the bus company, it went from local ownership to lay law, and the board asked Barbara to become the manager at that time. Functioning in that capacity, she really progressed right through the ranks, became a district manager, and after performing well in that in 2004, she came back and once again assumed direct responsibility for Waterford's transportation. She's been here ever since, ensuring the transportation functions go smoothly as they do. She's a special person because of her efforts with the Waterford Public Schools. The transportation system runs like a well-oiled machine. What makes Barbara so special? A colleague of Barbara who has worked with her since 1997 summed it up best when she said, "Things go right because Barbara is there. She pays attention to details, and we all know that the devil is in the details. She defines dependability and will always stay on the job until the job is done." Pat Hibbard from Preston, remember Pat? She said that during your early days, senior management referred to both her and Barbara as the two little bookends. This is a very appropriate analogy because like bookends that hold everything in place on the shelf, so does Barbara. Barbara makes sure that things stay together and always is supportive. She's there whenever needed. And I think this year in the opening of school remarks from our principals, pretty much right off the top of the head, everyone commented on the transportation and how smooth that goes, because then it allows us to pay attention to the other important work that we need to do. So Bob Strapetsky, who couldn't be here tonight, wanted me to share this comment. When trouble or problems do arise, so does Barbara. When I call Barbara with a transportation problem, I often get a response like, that's easy, I can do that. Barbara makes his life related to transportation so much easier, and he's very grateful for her being there and for being the person that she is. So Barbara, tonight the spotlight's on you, and we want to thank you for all the good work you do, and I know you brought a couple of your best fans along with you tonight, your husband Randy, and then also your co-worker, Eureka. Okay. That's great.
Thank you.
So if you would come forward, we have a board recognition for you. We want to get a photograph.
Barbara, on behalf of the Waterford Public Schools, we have the Certificate of Appreciation awarded to Barbara Brigham for outstanding service and safety in transportation of Waterford students, awarded this 23rd day of September 2014, signed by myself and our superintendent of schools, Mr. Belair. And if I may just add, last year, we didn't think it could get any better. The children were right on time, and then this year we heard the same thing. And so when we do our new time, we always get our phone number. So we're so delighted. Thank you very much on behalf of all of the members of the board.
Smile this way. We're going to put this right on our website, Barbara.
Ready?
Yeah.
Thank you. Such an important job. You've done so well. Thank you. Oh, yes. Feel free.
Tomorrow.
Thank you. That takes us right to our next item on the agenda, which concerns the superintendent's contract. And so, excuse me. excuse me, I'm jumping something else. We're going to go to theory in action, and I thought it's wonderful, and the board will be pleased to see this, I'm sure.
I thought it would be a good opportunity tonight as the board is focusing on its goals for the upcoming year to really kind of give it an instructional report as to where we are as a public school system with our teaching and learning efforts throughout our K-12 program. And just to kind of kick off by sharing with you that prior to each and every school year since 2011, the administrative team has met in a retreat for 3 days before the school opens. And we've had an opportunity to work with some outstanding facilitators that have really pushed our thinking. Our focus is really around being reflective of the work that's just done on it, the challenges that we continue to face, and then the work that lies ahead. In 2011, we worked with Deb Hessling from Harvard with Change Leadership. In 2012, we had the opportunity to work with Dr. Richard Lemons, who was connected with the Education Trust in Washington, D.C. Back in 2013, we worked with Diane Ullman, former superintendent from Simsbury and chief talent officer for the State Department of Education. And this year, we worked with Dr. Eileen Howley, the executive director from Learning. And we had a very, very productive 3 days. And one of the things that I'd like to take you through is the work that is happening within the district and how we have really tried to streamline and have a very clear focus to the work that we're doing. So we were really pushed working with these facilitators to really think about what's our theory in action. And when you think about a theory of action, it's really our set of beliefs, assumptions, understandings about the improvement efforts that will generate some type of desired change and why. And I just want to personalize it because I think each and every one of us, professionally as well as personally, have a theory of action. I shared with the staff on the opening at Convocation that I had a number of goals for the summer, and one was a diet. And that was something that I couldn't get at. But I am now in my second week of a new diet. And I have a theory about that. If I reduce my calorie intake, then I will lose weight and feel more healthy. And that would be an example of, if I do something, then here's the result. I would also tell you, in my family, we also have a theory of action for my grandson, Alex. And it goes something like this. If Alex has a set curfew on Friday and Saturday nights, then he will be off the roads and will be home safely in our house. And so that's grounded in a set of beliefs and understanding. So now I want to kind of translate that then into the work here in the public schools. Here's the process that we went through. We took a look at the areas and we defined very clear goals. We identified strategic levers for reaching those goals. That's the if statement. We also looked at how those levers are intended to impact the instructional core. That becomes the then statement. And we also want to uncover and test our assumptions among these three components and then refine the if and then statements. And so we've been focused on literacy for the last 3 years. It's really a district-wide focus. And at that time, we had a theory of action that was that if we expect teachers to implement powerful comprehension strategies in their daily instruction, and if we provide them with quality and meaningful professional development to support this instruction, then our students will be strategic readers and deeply understand the content that they're reading. And so that really has driven the work of the previous 3 years. Our focus really was to bring coherence to the work that we've been engaged in. We ought not to be thinking about that, oh, here's the next best thing coming down the pipe. It's really around the work. And do we have a through line? Is it connected? Does it make sense? Does it make sense to us? Does it make sense to our staff? And that's been very critical. And that became the focus of this summer's work, really taking a look at the work we've been doing and making sense of it. When you have a theory of action, it really allows for distributing the leadership so that it's just not the superintendent or the board or just the administrative staff, but it builds a collective ownership and an understanding of our improvement efforts. It shines the light on the areas of focus that we have. And we should also be looking for evidence of improvement. with those particular areas. So, as the staff arrived for convocation, and you also got to see this within your packet, they all received the theory of action that we had worked on this summer. And I want to take us through this briefly. And this theory is really comprised of a set of strategic actions that are very intentional to continuously improve teaching and learning here within Waterford. The statements are really intended to really focus on the organizational coherence and the alignment to best practices in order to facilitate those improvement efforts. So our first component, essential component of this theory, is that if we as an administrative team establish a school community that encourages input, those are key words, encourages input from our classroom teachers on issues related to instructional practices and student achievement, and provides the time necessary for related discussions to occur, then we will create a shared vision and purpose for our work. Share that with the staff, and that's been our focus since the first day of school. But that's just the theory. We identified some action steps, working very closely with our teacher leaders, our grade level teams, our subject area staff, to really identify those best practices, to organize time, so that there's time available to discuss and support those best practices. We identified the use of TLC time, faculty meetings, professional development, instructional rounds, and the other opportunities. We had a great discussion with our teacher negotiation team around the use of time and really supporting the work. And I think this really helped us fine-tune this particular action step. That would also engage in professional learning that strengthened teachers' collaborative skills related to the focus on improvement. That would support best practices, and the board is doing this with the position of instructional coach. So when we look at our evaluation system for both administrators and teachers, that we're aligning those goals to improved instructional practice. Again, it's getting at that coherence and that alignment. And that we would also use student performance data to inform our practice. The second component is that if we clearly articulate our goals and initiatives within the school community, so there's no mystery and no confusion, and we also provide time and the resources to work on those goals and initiatives, then we will improve instruction and student achievement. So how would we do that? This is the then statement. We're going to clearly articulate our goals for the year. We'll use common planning time, faculty time, TLCs, department meetings, really to align our curriculum, take a look at our instruction, and develop the practices that address our student needs. Also, to fine-tune and develop our student performance management system, and then really building the capacity of all of us, our teachers and our principals. The third component deals with if we provide excellent instruction and hire and develop talented people, align our resources with our priorities, and manage student and adult performance, then we will ensure that every student is on track at every stage, whether it be elementary, middle school, or high school, to graduate prepared for college and or career. The action steps relate to committing to instructional excellence and really using our instructional coaches to support, to make sure that our teacher evaluation system is supporting our teachers with excellent instruction, providing quality professional development, that the process, if we're looking for talented people, our hiring process ought to be rigorous. We ought to have a high bar and really recruit and encourage the very best to come to work here in Waterford. And to also follow through on the next level of work that we identify in each of our schools through the instructional round process. And professional development, really focus on the instructional core and align the effective teaching practices across the curriculum. Hire the most effective teachers and administrators, but beyond that, we also need to support them. Establish a strong system of supervision and evaluation, and set our performance standards for teachers and students. And then utilize our budget process to support these strategies. The fourth component relates to high expectations. So if we set clear high expectations for student learning, we provide high quality, uniform, and viable curricula supported by quality resources, and hold the schools accountable for implementing that curriculum, then student performance will improve. The action steps We'll develop a K-12 curriculum that's aligned to the English language arts standards and math standards connected to the Common Core. We'll analyze our instructional tasks as an indicator of expectations for students in the learning process. Require that all students is the key. And I can tell you that Kathy Ballone is really excited about that, having that word, all students experience a rigorous curriculum in engaging learning tasks. Organize our professional development to support those instructional practices and resources. To implement a teacher evaluation system that monitors the effectiveness of practice. And then again, utilize the time that's provided within our contractual day so that we really maximize the work. So that's the language. Those are the actions. But there's a visual representation that really symbolizes this particular area of action. And I want to recognize Heather Paquette, who's an art teacher at the high school in Ogden. When she came in, she said, "Oh, we have some new artwork up on the wall." And each and every year with the work that we've laid out, we've actually had a symbolic representation of that hanging here in the boardroom, just to remind us that that's the work that we're engaged in. And so you can see this oil painting back here on the wall. But I want to bring some life to this particular sailboat. Most of you know that I'm a power boater, but I do enjoy sailboating. And I've had a chance through this exercise to really learn the different parts of this particular sailboat. So I want to start with bringing this theory of action to a theory in action. And I want to start with the keel, and that's the water of the school. That's the infrastructure, that's the support that keeps this boat floating. And that's the Board of Education, working closely with the administrators, working with our teachers, our paraprofessionals, our custodians, our maintenance workers, food service. We all have a stake in the success of the school system and the success of our children. Next is the hull. And these are our students, K-12, and I would say to you, we have great kids. We have great kids that have phenomenal potential. And we're very fortunate in working with such great kids and with very supportive families. But that's the hull of our boat. The rudder is the shared vision. And this is what guides and steers us towards our destination. We know where we're going. We want to graduate students that are college and career ready. But beyond that, we want students to graduate as good citizens, great citizens, in fact, and with very good character. I shared with the staff at convocation that this is where I see the strength of the Waterford Public Schools. This is what sets us apart. The high expectations that we have. We have a long-term reliability and dependability that's really grounded well here in the Waterford Public Schools. Our staff cares about the work that they do, and we have high expectations of one another, and we also have a good support system in place so that we can maintain those high expectations. The boom on this sailboat is about teamwork, and that's all of us, no matter what your role is here in the Waterford Public Schools. Secretary, maintainer, teacher, administrator, superintendent. The key here is that it's all about teamwork. This is what holds and steers the mainsail and provides the power, the sense of team. It's a new term I learned, the mainsail. It's powered by the teamwork. And it's what we value. We believe in we need to hire the very best talent. I kidded the staff, and Martha, I don't know if you might have coined this phrase. Did they pass the Jerry test? See, in the hiring process, one of the things that we do is we engage all the faculty in the selection process. They're involved with the administrative staff, interviewing. The candidate comes back, teaches, the staff that are part of the committee observe the lesson, and then the finalists come to meet with Craig and I along with the principal. And it's a rigorous process. And because we're committed to hiring the very best talent for each and every position within the district. The other important thing, our work ought not to be a mystery. It ought to be about setting very clear goals. And the success of any organization is really providing that support and time. And certainly with the meeting time that we have available to us, the quality of professional development and the instructional coaches, we really have an opportunity to really power this mainsail. Then I'll go over and come to the headsail. And this is what propels us to move forward as a public school system. the rigorous curriculum that we have in place, the instructional practices supported by the instructional rounds process. We want the very best practices in place so that our students learn at their optimal. And really the overlay for all of this is about quality, giving our best and making sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to move our students forward as well as our district. But we can't lose sight. We have a destination, and our destination is really this particular pier or dock, and that's around our student potential. We really wrestled with, was this going to be about student achievement and student results? And we said, you know what? Our kids come with such potential when they arrive in kindergarten. Our goal is really, over that experience of 13 years, is to really help our students maximize their potential. So what's another way to really unpack this? The first element really all is about teamwork. If there are 4 words that you take away from tonight's presentation, one, I want you to know it's about teamwork. It's really about all of us, and it starts here at the board level with the superintendent and with all of the staffing here within the Waterford Public Schools. It's about setting very clear goals. And we have clear goals for the year within each of our schools, and staff right now are working on their goals, their own professional growth goals for this school year. The other is it's around excellence, doing the best that we can with everything and hiring the very best. And lastly, it's about setting high expectations for ourselves, for our students, and in the work that we produce. And so that really brings to life this theory of action, putting it in action. I mentioned to the staff that if I was to write a headline for the newspaper as to where we were at this point in time, it would read, Waterford, excellent schools continually improving. And that's our headline today. We've talked about over the last 2 or 3 years that we're staying the course. We're not shifting gears and moving on to something new. We're taking the next step in our next level of work. Our goal is about moving forward. And that's been our theme for the past few years, and that's where we are again this year. I mentioned the instructional tool. We're thinking about teaching and learning. I want to illustrate this with an example from the curriculum renewal process of last year. When you're thinking about the instructional core, when the board adopts a new curriculum, and if you think about the history and social studies curriculum that was presented to you last spring, both Mark and Chris talked to you about the difference in the content. It's a rigorous curriculum. It's going to engage the students. So once you make a change in one of these components in this triangle, it impacts the others. So both Mark and Chris talked to you about the role that the teacher would play and how instruction would need to look different. The third area relates to the student. How do we engage the student? And what brings it all together is the learning task. So when we're thinking about learning and students achieving at a higher level, these all need to be in place. So this is really the center of our work from a curriculum and instructional perspective, that the curriculum is aligned, it's rigorous, it's open to all students. The teacher has the instructional pedagogy to do the work, and we're providing the support to our teaching staff. The tasks for the students need to be meaningful, and the kids are engaged in the work, and then learning occurs. So that's really the next level of work that we've been engaged in here in Waterford for the last 3 years. It's all about coherence. It needs to make sense to us. There's a through line right on through directly to the classroom and to the student. So this particular theory of action ought to impact student learning directly in the classroom. Strategies that we have in place is our set of actions: quality instruction, rigorous curriculum, engaging students in meaningful work, teamwork, supporting our teachers and students, and time to develop and improve. That's a critical resource in order to move forward. This is a representation of our beliefs, our assumptions, and understandings as we move forward in this new school year, 2014 and 15. And I challenge the staff that I hope when we reach June, the new headline will read, Teamwork Made a Difference in Waterford. That all of us working together to bring these actions to reality will directly impact our student learning. Lastly, teamwork, clear goals, excellence and high expectations for what the Waterford Public Schools are all about. So tonight I just wanted to share with you the instructional agenda that we have in place across our 5 schools here in the Waterford community and the support that's in place in order to realize these goals.
Thank you. Jody, did you have a question?
What about the friendship schools? Are they included in any of this? Or?
It's a great question. It's one that we talked about, and it's one that we're going to be sharing with the friendship school, so that in particular with, and what was great is, Irene Howard facilitated similar, and so I put it in that because that's exactly what we're talking about, is that friendship school needs to be part of it. That will be our next Good question.
Other questions? We'll probably come back to this when we look at our own goals and be sure that we're all doing the same, using it and defining our goals and putting them into action. So we'll be interested in hearing from the teachers as well. But thank you very much. I actually heard this had conversation and as the administrators here in the first. But thank you for the presentation to the board. Okay. So now that moves us to the next item on our agenda tonight, and it's discussion on the superintendent's contract. And before I make any comments, Mr. Diller, would you like to?
If I could, I'd like to say a few words if I could. We met back in June during my evaluation to really assess my performance as superintendent. In addition to that, the board discussed my continued employment here in Waterford. At that time, I shared with all of you that I was reaching a couple of milestones in my career, that at the end of June, I would be at 37.4 years of public school service as an educator here in Connecticut. And at the end of this month, and I think next week, at the end of next month, I will have reached the 37.5 years of service. A milestone when you think of retirement and our state pension. So like all public school educators, I've been contributing to the state pension system since, believe it or not, February of 1977. And that's been through a salary deduction that comes out of my paycheck. And so, in accordance with the rules of the Teachers Retirement Board, I've reached the maximum number of years of service to be credited towards my pension. I shared with the board when we met on my evaluation that I was planning to announce my retirement effective October 1st, 2014. You as a board have met with legal counsel to discuss possible post-retirement employment here in the Waterford schools. And as I shared with you, it's my intention to continue to work for 2 more years at least in education. And I would just say to you very frankly that, as I said to you, that the Waterford schools are a very special place. It's one of the highlights of my career. I've had a great deal of respect for the employees that I work with. The dedication goes beyond any group that I've ever worked with. They strive daily, day in and day out, to really do their very best for the students. So I know you're about to take some action tonight, and I just wanted to say to you that I'm indeed privileged to work here in Waterford, and also I'm privileged that I will continue to work with the board, the administrative team, the staff, to move the Waterford Public Schools forward in our pursuit of excellence.
Mr. Diller. Now to reach out, deal with the shock that I would like to just say a few more comments that the superintendent came to the board. As you know, the Board of Education evaluated the superintendent in June and on a 3-year contract that would run out to June 2017. This current contract of employment would go out for, rather than the 33 months, would go out for a 21-month period. And this is in keeping with Connecticut General Statute 183, which allows a retired superintendent to be reemployed. And after the board met and under several discussions decided that we want to stay the course, and we thought it was in the best interest of our students in Waterford to continue rehire the superintendent after the very good work that he's done over the last few years with cost efficiencies and raising student achievement and instructional leadership in all of the areas that we evaluate the superintendent and his student evaluation. So the board, in discussion, looked and called in for legal counsel to see just how this is done in Connecticut, and the superintendent will receive 45%, according to a rule, or 45% of his current salary, and then the rest of the salary will be put into benefits that is legal with the teacher retirement system. So with that, the board decided that we would, and I just would like to clarify, that means that at the end of next year, the superintendent will still go through the same process of evaluation, and then the board did make a few changes to the original contract on certain pieces of it, going out with the superintendent would use his sick days, and that he would have to give a certain 180-day notice if he were to leave. But just in a very general sense, so that you understand, this does not cost the town of Waterford any additional money. If this is the superintendent's money that he put into the pension plan with the state of Connecticut. In fact, there will be some cost savings to the town in the sense that there will not be an increase in the superintendent's salary over the next 2 years. So with that, the board, I don't want to take up too much time and give you an opportunity, but we're delighted that the superintendent has agreed to stay on, and we will look for a motion and then have more discussion in a moment. So with that, I think I covered most of the highlights of the new. This will be a new contract. The current contract has to be terminated by the rules, and the new contract takes effect on October the 1st of this year, and as I said, will extend out until June 2015. So with that, I will be seeking a motion to...
Okay, I'll make the motion. In light of the superintendent's pending retirement under the state of Connecticut's Teachers Retirement Board rules, I'll make a motion that the board terminates the superintendent's current contract with such action effective September 30th, 2014, and to enter into a new contract of employment for the superintendent effective October 1st, 2014. The new contract of employment shall have a term of October 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2016, include revised language to comply with post-retirement provisions of the state of Connecticut's Teachers Retirement Board, and shall provide a lower annual compensation. In lieu of the superintendent's current base salary, the compensation of the superintendent's new contract shall total $220,000 per year, comprised of a lower base salary plus additional fringe benefits. I'd also make the motion that the board authorize the board chair to execute a new contract with the superintendent of schools reflecting such terms.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Thank you, Ann. Before we move to a vote, this is an opportunity for board members to make any additional comments regarding the superintendent's new contract. I don't hear any. I may just add that there seemed to be a consensus that Mr. Belair has exceeded expectations. He received a very outstanding evaluation in June, and the board again thought it was in the best interest of our students to rehire Mr. Belair so that we can move this theory of action forward and that we can continue with our good work for raising student achievement and all the cost efficiencies that the board has planned for the first few years. With that, Jody?
Just for the thing for me, I appreciate the fact that we're going to have time to find another superintendent, because the school year's already started and we're really student-centered and everything, and then this will give us, the board, time to really think and reflect on what we want in our next superintendent and take our time planning that superintendent.
Thank you, Jody. For the comments? There are no other comments. We will move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you to the board and congratulations.
Thank you. I'll be back to work on October 1st.
You want a copy of that?
I am. Sorry, I'm sorry.
That can take us to the next piece on our agenda, which includes our consent agenda, which you have in your pack, the minutes of the August 28th, 2014 regular meeting and the monthly expenditure report. There are motions to accept the consent agenda. Thank you, Jody. Second by Dave. Any questions or comments?
I just wanted to point out, normally you have a food service report, but since school is only a couple of days in August, you'll have a combined report in the next board meeting of August and September.
Thank you, Mr. Okay, we have a motion second. If there's no other discussion, did I miss something?
No. I was just going to say I'd make a comment, but I think I'm tired after reading the motion.
All those in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We're going to move right to our reading review of correspondence. Mr. Dellert?
I have none of this.
We just have the piece of correspondence from Parks and Rec welcoming our new liaison, James Bellman. Again, congratulations, and we're pleased to have you with us this evening. I did have a piece of correspondence which you will take care of under your superintendent report. And just Kev, I'm sure you'll give a little update on the cave when we come to it, so I have all the cave literature. And I will read some of the new reviews, and one looks very good, keeping with the spirit of what we're doing up at Quaker Hill, the solar panel. This is by the Hartford Business Journal, saying it's all green guy. So this may interest the board. I'll link this here too. That's it for me. That takes us right to your report.
You have in front of you an enrollment update. And actually what I'd like to do is, if you see the total by grade level, and if you go all the way over to the right, you see that enrollment currently is at 2,541. We were projecting last year during our budget process 2,511, so we have 30 more students entering the Waterford Public Schools this school year. And I want to just kind of share where that enrollment increase is. So if you go up to the high school, just above it, you see that we have 831 students currently enrolled. We were projecting 802. So that's 29 more students than we have projected. In a minute, I'll show you where some of those additional students have come from. If you take a look at the middle school, we have 662. We were projecting 650, so we have an increase of 12. At the elementary, we have a slight decrease by 11. So that's the general overview. You know, we've talked in the last couple of budget cycles about, and we talked about it this summer in our retreat, you can see it and reflected in the draft goals, but really marketing what we have to offer here in Waterford. We know that now our students beginning in kindergarten have an opportunity to attend appropriate magnet schools. So I'm pleased to report tonight, we asked the question, so where did these additional 29 students at Waterford High School come from? I would say we enrolled 43 students. Some of our families moved away from Waterford, but 43 new students are now attending Waterford High School. 15 of those students are coming back from magnet or tech schools to Waterford. In addition, 4 students from parochial schools coming into Waterford High School. Kevin, I saw you apply. And I can tell you that we're going to go at this in earnest this coming year. We have 7 students that came from out of state and 17 that came from other towns here in Connecticut. So it's always good news when you are slightly above your projection. Because I think if we had any more kids, we might have been hiring some additional staff. And as you know, we use the contingency feature that we have in the budget to reduce the kindergarten size at Quaker Hill. But as you look at these particular class sizes, they're very favorable. We're keeping an eye on grade 5 at grade next with 23, 24, and 24. But as you look across, and what's interesting is the three schools are pretty much in balance. And you can't regulate that unless you say, your children from this school to that school. But all in all, as we approach the October 1st enrollment for the Waterford Public Schools, this is a favorable report for us, especially at the high school level. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
It's also a good planning tool.
I appreciate it. I think the board appreciates knowing where the number of things and so help us plan for the future, what we may be expecting. Thank you. Dave?
Is there any extra orientation for the kids going into the high school?
Is there anybody?
Extra orientation, to how to get involved in programs. And if you're a sophomore just showing up in a high school, it's not like going to elementary school where a teacher kind of takes you in. Can somebody explain to them how easy it is to get involved in the programs and things like that?
I'm going to answer for Andre Hauser because he's at his son's open house tonight in his community. That becomes one of the roles of the guidance counselor when the students enroll. And then we have a peer group of students that take students on tour, mentor the students for the first couple of weeks and really share what the opportunities are. And I just want to ask back to you that in your questions, is there something that's been happening?
No. I just kind of thought showing up at a new high school, at least when you come from 8th grade to high school, you have all your friends and what are they doing and all that. And I just kind of thought to myself, geez, that's got to be a little scary just showing up.
Our school counseling staff has been very proactive and really the best source of information are the other their other classmates. And so they're connected and they have a peer mentor for the first few weeks of school, someone that they can go to, take a look at the after-school activities, sports, extracurricular, drama, etc.
Thank you, Dave.
I shared with you on a Friday note that we're making a change, and I will soon be sending out a school messenger update to all of our families, letting them know that we are moving away from, is it 60 minutes away? Should it be a 90 minutes away? Should we start on time? Should we cancel? We have 24 communities around us. 20 communities have a 2-hour delay. There are 3 that have the 90 minute delay. We're going to join the pack, and I think I work closely with Rich Foy over in New London as well as with Project Learn with a 2-hour delay. I know Jay and I talking early in the morning, if we had had an additional 30 minutes, we might have been able to hold school on a couple of those days. I think what it also does is really give our maintenance staff an opportunity to really get the sidewalks, the parking lots ready to receive every staff so people come to work safely. Just wanted to let you know via an email, but I also wanted to say personally, and we'll now do a global school change service, school messenger, and let all the families know. I can tell you the word's already out. It's been talked about in PTAs, and there's been rounds of applause. We really want to be able to assist families with child care. If it's a 60-minute or a 90-minute, they have one plan as well. It's 2 hours. And I think that will really benefit.
Will the board again on the messenger?
We'll get the board of that on the message. That's a great point.
Joe, with the 2 hours delay, it's closer to the full day of school, right?
It is. The other thing that I want to share with you, as I think many of you know via an email, I asked Joyce to send it out to you. We were the game of the week with our high school. But, in addition to that, we also had Waterford High School featured at the 11 o'clock news as well as at the 5 o'clock news. And what we wanted to do was, it's a quick couple of minute clip, and I know Joyce is working on it as we speak. And it just was a nice feature of the school, talking to our kids, our staff, and really taking a look at what classroom we use.
To show us how the Lancers are learning in a whole new way.
Inside Waterford's new high school, the classroom of the future is already here with high-tech tools and a new approach to learning called flipped classrooms.
It's totally reverse of what we did. Taking our work home, they do most of the problem solving in the classroom.
Students use online tools like video lectures to learn new content at home, and what used to be homework, the practice, is now done in class together.
They're participating daily, they're collaborating, they're communicating and talking to each other, and so that builds those skills.
Now, Waterford understands this is a plugged-in generation, so rather than banning personal technology like smartphones, tablets, and laptops, they actually encourage students to use them in certain classes.
We're using that to teach the kids how to use the internet as a positive resource.
A lot of teachers actually have Twitter pages. We can get information about our classes, stuff like that.
Teachers spend less time lecturing and more time guiding while encouraging peer mentoring.
How I learn, I like explaining it to other people and like going through the steps, and so when I help my friends, it's easier for me to absorb the information.
That's why Lauren wants to be a math teacher someday, using technology to teach her own students.
I definitely think my teachers have a good approach to using it and incorporating it in classrooms, so hopefully I can do the same.
Shaping the brilliant minds of tomorrow with visionary approaches today. In Waterford, Heidi Boyd, NBC Connecticut News.
That was Phil Weil, one of our math teachers at Waterford High School. So that was some nice publicity at our high school. I think we'll also share that with 8th graders.
Can anybody vote on that?
They can.
I've been voting on it, but I wonder.
And we're also one of the 4 high schools again this week.
That's what I would like to encourage everyone to keep voting, because this is great marketing and excellent for our schools. So.
I also wanted to point out the student artwork that's on display around the room. It's from Great Neck Elementary School. You can see over here the opening of school, some great photographs of Ready, Set, Learn. Here we go, new school year. You have some 2nd grade work up there with some character traits, having the students personalize it. You have some art over here around imagination. There's some math work over there with the kites. And so the students have had a chance just in the first couple of weeks really to experiment with a variety of art tools. So thank you to Great Neck for having student work on display for us.
May I interject just for a moment, because I don't think the board would thank you enough. I know there's a lot of work that goes into that from all of you, and so we really do appreciate it. Many of the board members have said, Austin said, I know Jody several times, and everyone has said it. It really brightens the room up and keeps us focused on what we're all about. So we appreciate very much taking that time and effort to have that done for us. Thank you.
And the last item that I had in my report was that I received a phone call from Kathy Subrin yesterday, and she let me know that she has decided to retire this December. And I spoke with Irene Howley, the Executive Director of Learn today, and just let me know that the process to select a new principal will be very inclusive on the Waterford side. So Kathy, after many years of distinguished service, will be retired.
If I may just comment, and I know Jody can say something too. Kathy Subrin has been working since 1972. A great leader in this community, outstanding principal, and prior to that was a math coach and principal and director of the Friendship School. So I know she's going to be sorely missed, and she was just is an outstanding. It's sorrow that we hear that she's retiring, but we wish her well. We know that.
She told me yesterday that her husband's had 2 years of just rolling over when she goes to work, and she's ready to relax.
And Jody and I know Jody, we've worked with her since the beginning of the Friendship School on the governing board, so I know she's going to be sorely missed. I went to high school with Kathy, and I've known her for a long time, since 1960. And you couldn't find a nicer, more caring person. And I remember when my children were lucky enough to have her at Southwest. She was a teacher there. She had some great programs and activities for the children to do. And now she has my granddaughter over at the Friendship School. She's the principal there. So I'm gonna miss her, and the town's gonna miss her, and the children most of all are gonna miss her. She's an excellent administrator. And I think you're contagious. Thank you, Jody, for those comments. And we'll call Kathy to see her at the end of the year. That's the end of the report. Okay. That takes us to our own committee and reports. Jody, did you want to get one first? We had a user report. board meeting last Wednesday, and there, I'm not sure if I mentioned it last name. Erin is, she's the program coordinator. She's going to be resigning in February because she's going to have a baby. So that's what happens. But Christine has also left, so Danny is going to be doing an interview with someone to fill Christine's place right away in October. And I'm not really sure when we're going to do the interview for Erin. But not stopping Danny and Erin from still offering so many great programs. They still have toddler time, especially preschoolers. Fuzzy and Furry Friends, that's a really popular program they have. It's going to be for 4 Mondays, starting this coming Monday, September 29th, from 3:30 to 5:30. And they bring in lots of fuzzy friends for children to play with. They bring in dogs, cats, other things. They're going to be doing a holiday musical this year. It's going to be called Jingle All the Way, and everybody will have a part. Nobody will be turned away, and that's going to they're going to start practicing for that December 30th through December 9th, and that'll be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm really happy with Rick and Parks and Headview to Park Lane and Jim. They're going to be opening up the gym on Friday evening from October 24th to November 14th, from 9 to 11. And it'll give people in town, especially youngsters, a place to go and play basketball and just have somewhere to go. So I'm hoping it attracts people from children from the age groups that they don't have any place to go. The American Red Cross is still offering their babysitting class. Also, Youth for the Girl is offering what's called Volunteer Match. It's a new program, and they want to help high schoolers get their learning through service hours. So they're going to be helping them with that. They're going to be working on a float for the light parade again, and they're going to be partnering up with Grosso Tech. We have some students from Waterford to go to Grosso Tech, so that'll be good. They're also offering the Snow Sub program again, where children can go if there's a snow day and parents have to work. But they recommend that you call as soon as possible because the spots get filled up. They're also offering again this year, it's called Saturday Night Out, and it's for parents and caregivers. They're going to be offering a Saturday Night Out dates on October 25th, 22nd, and 13th. You can drop off your pre-K to 6th graders, and they're going to have pizza and a snack for them, and the cost of that is $20, and you have to register ahead of time. They've already, believe it or not, started on their Thanksgiving and holiday programs. They have information on how a family can apply if they need to. They're also going to do Stuff the Bus again this year. And they're going to have also Adopt a Family at Christmas time, Adopt a Family, and their Wish Pad program. And also they need gifts and food donations. So as you can see, they're very, very busy.
Partnership with the schools.
Yes. Yeah. And then the Radio City Music Hall trip, I think it might be filled by now, but that's going to be on November 15th. $90 per person, and if you're interested in going, call Youth for the Girl as soon as possible. I think that's it. That's it. Well, the Friendship School, we did have a meeting. Kathy didn't tell us then that she was considering retirement, but she let us all know today. There are around 500 students there, and they're equally distributed. They're equally from Waterford and New London, and the school year got off great. This year they're going to be working on a new mission statement because, believe it or not, the Friendship School has been here for 10 years. I remember before we even had it and how we're getting ready for it. So that's going to be a big undertaking, and they're going to involve people from the community and from our board and the two superintendents. So it should be really good. I think that's pretty much it. Everything's going on very smoothly there. Thank you, Jay. One quick note I forgot to say. I was able to attend all the back-to-school nights for Youth for the Girl, except Park Lane. I'm sorry, Jim, I had something else that night. But I just want to let our principals know I was so impressed with the schools and let Jay know. I mean, the schools are nice and clean, and the parents were happy, and most of all, the children were happy to be there. And I just love seeing that. We're very, very lucky in Waterford. Even high school students are happy, so that's really good. Thank you, Joe. Any other reports? Just if you want to just remind everyone about the convention.
Which goes along with that trip down to New York City. the bus trip, right? Isn't that November 15th?
Yeah, that is
Yeah, it's the same weekend, so. Yeah, the CABE conference is 14th and 15th. Yeah. 13th, 14th, and 15th for me.
If you go in as a
So,
delegate.
13th and 14th, I'm not going.
So, able to have any water students before, like that, some other schools do, or?
We haven't been selected, but we did make an attempt, so we keep trying.
We did one year.
Every year we get notification that they're looking for talent from the local schools, but there are a lot of districts that they have to cover, so, yeah.
We did put it.
There's nominations for the Philip Spencer Distinguished Award. Anyone wants to learn about that, I'll leave that there as well someday. In that case, just to have a very quick report from the Waterford Education Foundation celebrated its 10th anniversary, held a very nice event at Great Neck Country Club last Friday, and our own Ann Ogden was the guest of honor, and it was a wonderful evening, and Ann, we were all very impressed with Ann and all the tremendous community work that Ann has done over her career, and we were just so proud not only to have you honored by the Sounds Like to be a Waterford Board of Education member as well, so it was a great evening and just delighted, and Jim was there, and the superintendent and assistant superintendent, and a lot of the administrators in Waterford and friends and teachers and board. There were several board members there, so we were very delighted for you, and congratulations again. And then, if I may just say, the Waterford Education Foundation is doing very well. They will, I think you're going to have a few members attending the consortium on September 30th up in Cromwell, and the title of it will be A Portrait of the Teaching Profession in the Era of Reform. It should be interesting. That will be held, so we'll be waiting to get a report back to you for that. Also, the superintendent and I attended the long-range planning with the RTN and Board of Finance and different members, and that's an ongoing committee work, so we'll give you an update as that comes through. And then just, I have mentioned things to be mentioned again. Keep quoting. Okay. That takes us, are there any other reports? Hearing none, we will move right to our discussion of our new Board of Education goals for the upcoming year, 2014-15. And as you had the draft, these are draft goals. We did meet during our retreat, if you recall, back in July. We postponed that to this meeting, so tonight is an opportunity to go through these draft goals again, add to it if there's something that's been left out. Before we go through it, I would just like to point out that some of the goals that we've established in the past years that we haven't really did. I don't want to leave out the fine work that our assistant superintendent has come with the policy committee, and he really pushed us all last year, and we accomplished a great deal, but there's still more work to do. So if you don't see policy on it, doesn't mean we're not continuing in that direction. Just that's an ongoing goal. Yes, of course.
If I could, what I did was take from the minutes that evening, and you have a draft. You know, one of the questions that was asked of me that evening, should we have 8 or 10 or 4 or 5? I'm not super comfortable with 8.
No.
The board decides if they want to go with 8. What I did was move forward number 7 and 8, which are ongoing goals that we began a year ago, really looking at the indicators of success to measure our effectiveness. And I think as I shared with you, interviewed with focus groups of high school graduates coming back to Waterford so that we can have their experiences and their suggestions and advice to us. So we're going to be continuing to work on that. 1 through 6 came out of your conversation and discussion back in July. And this is just an attempt to wordsmith what was shared then.
Well, I'm happy you pointed that out because I had added to that it continues to identify. So it will be not really a new goal, we're just going to continue that work with that goal, but that will take us, I think, a couple of years. If I may
first just say, on the first, if we can go through each one, on the first one, design and fund the strategic planning process. I think that we talked about that. Again, we were talking about other schools with 10-year mission. We haven't looked at our own mission statement for 10 years, and with this new theory in action, and I would like to, I think this is a good goal for us to have at this time.
I thought the discussion was more towards a strategic plan, not limited to a single school academic year.
Well,
the way this is worded, it looks like we're just looking for
it could last
a 1 year.
Well, we'd begin it next year. We couldn't begin it this year if we were going to require funding. We didn't budget for it. So maybe the wording is, we were going to, this year, use the time to design. The funding probably would be put into our budget for 15-16. But really initiate the process a year from now. So this would be a planning or a prep year. That's what I was trying to capture from the conversation.
I think we were thinking of a strategic plan for a block of years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Because you don't want to go too far out. Obviously, events get ahead of you if you do.
The 15-16 was, that's when we'd actually start developing.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
but I agree with you. It would be an extended period, not just 1 year. The strategic plan would go out and would work on the statement.
So maybe instead of 4, it would be in.
Yeah. Good, sure.
So we'll have to take the 4 out, but in, now in that, and then we will, as we do that, we'll invite all the different stakeholders into the plan so that we're all on the same team. The piece on develop a strategy to ensure that most 8th graders transfer to the Waterford High School, we could just word that a little differently because we want to recognize that but to say that we want to do all our optimal that we can to market as we have done and have the action plan have piece to it that we, you know how we put the 8th graders now come into the high school, visit, and have the orientation. If we could find other tools, other marketing pieces, make the goal just a little bit more specific.
So we want to encourage 8th grade graduates to enroll at Waterford High.
We do. We want to encourage them, and how would we, like the market, like something to communication.
We've got 2 committees already in place for both the middle and the high school, and they've been working since the beginning of school to really, all of the choices start very early in the process in October. We have other schools coming to our students. What we identified is we're doing it at the end. We're going to come out of the box and have the other places measure up to us. So Greg, you had some language around that? Encourage?
Right.
Develop a strategy to encourage?
8th grade graduates. To enroll at Waterford High.
I think the other thing you can, I know you're looking at that language, but I don't know if this works too. You can say develop a strategy that promotes the benefits of the new Waterford High School to the 8th grade students.
That's good.
Say that again.
Really?
Promotes the benefits.
Promotes the benefits of the new Waterford High School to the 8th grade.
But I think we also want to reach this out beyond our own interests. So we want this to be a good communication piece out to the community, out to everyone. I think that's what we want.
All students are eligible to attend the high school, so that it's not just 8th
we
grade.
understand, when I think we agree that this is a good goal to have, right? So we can take that out.
Great suggestion.
The promote the mental health and initiate proactive approaches to reduce emotional stress among our students. Since we're working now, I think state commercials to do early intervention and identification. As we go through this, is there a way that we could have, as part of our action plan, to have an update on how we're doing in that area, you know, how we're working at the bottom to assess our academic achievement
That can be one of our strategies.
So one of the strategies would be just some of the data back to see how we're doing in that area, how we can find more outreach to the parents and the community. That was the only thing I would add to it, just how we would be doing it.
Yeah. Well, if you recall with the kind of mid-year report, we waited till we finished the budget.
Right.
One of the things that I did was just kind of identify the data that we collected and the progress that we're making towards the goals. So we'll give a progress report each of those at mid-year, and then again at the end of the year, and we talked about that during my evaluation as well.
Because I think, if I may just take the liberty for a moment, I think part of the issue that people are having, we need to do more on education on this piece of mental illness.
Yeah.
Because people are afraid to come forward, and we need to show that we're there to outreach and to help with the resources that the school provides.
Well, we do have a report on it. We have users come through because they help students and they have counseling.
You know, it was a nice feature that I saw at the back-to-school nights, and I think they were right next to you in the hallways coming in. We have both our school psychologist and our social worker right out there in the hall, greeting families, sharing the services that we're offering. They were very busy throughout the night.
I want to try to work this way. Thank you, Jody. That would be good. Place a high priority on effective professional development, and I think we need to commit as a board that we offer, and what we're hopefully doing is the resources necessary and the time that is part of the plan that we're already doing. So this is, again, a reiteration of some of the goals that we've already established, but that we want to emphasize that these are going to be ongoing.
And make sure we have the necessary resources.
We need to tie it to the resources. Support global experiences in the educational program. Explore K-5 options. Expand Waterford High School world languages options.
What does that mean? Global experiences in the educational program?
I think it's meaning the exchange program more and encouraging the exchange program. That was
Kevin, you may have raised this during the retreat.
Well, I think I raised the point on the world language and having the option of having an online study, to be able to expand what we have in a language program, and maybe if it's an online thing, is it something we collaborate with East Lyme, London, Montville?
There's a lot of good technology online with the learning with the international students. We do that now. We have done that in the classroom already. They with Skype and back and forth. But I think during that discussion we talked about, we know and understand, given the fiscal constraints that we're under with the budget process, that we can't. This would be more an investigation right now to see what other options are out there, how they would be implemented if in the time there are more resources, because we understood at one point that Waterford High School was offering Russian and other languages, and so it's just for the board to have more of a research on what we could possibly do in the future.
I recollect that with the K through 5, there was some lamenting that we lost the Spanish language program, and there was some rejoicing also that we didn't have it, that it was an ineffective program. And Jerry very artfully said, well, I can explore that. So it was not a board commitment, as I recall, to go back to that. It was just a recognition that Jerry would look into it and report back to us.
Well, you were not here, Greg, at the time when this... Well, you were here at the retreat, let me rephrase it. But it was always the attention of the board, and you're correct. We decided at one point that we were going to do a thorough analysis of our K through 5 elementary
world language program, and you're right, we thought that we could do better, and that if the time presented itself together. So I think part of this is, and maybe you would speak to that, Mr. Howard, because you were involved in that early on, that it was a strengthening of the program. It wasn't meant.
I heard Kathleen say that number 5 would be more of an investigation. I think that's akin to what Greg is saying. And if there are ways that we can provide high quality instruction in that area, then we would bring those proposals forward. You're right, Greg. Our initial design really didn't get the return on investment we hoped for. And so we wouldn't replicate, obviously, that same model. But we would be looking for, are there highly effective models out there that we could maybe afford and then propose?
It's more, if I may, it's more of an exploration than a commitment to doing it, to find out what is currently going on, and just to do some investigation of what other districts may be doing with those programs. Explore, investigate, research. Right.
Well, that's what the administration do with respect to all programs. Let's continue to explore other alternatives, more efficient alternatives.
I think the whole area of world languages we're looking at overall, and what Kevin was talking about, using more online to virtual learning, collaboration with the just basically looking at the entire world languages from kindergarten through to high school. Number 6, ensure that the Common Core standards, SBAC testing, and other mandated programs are thoroughly implemented so as to benefit. I said thoroughly. Thoughtfully and thoroughly implemented so as to benefit students without compromising district values. And that's another ongoing initiative, I believe, but the board wants to be clear that we provide the necessary pieces and tie that to our planning. Feel free to do that if I'm doing too much here. Some of the other goals that we had in the past, too, I just would like to point out that the board has initiated 2 goals in the past to tie the curriculum a little more with learning through service and be looking at that. And I would like to just point out when we did marketing that the test, remember you brought to our attention last month how we scored from, we went from the middle of the pack right to the first in the state. So we can market some of those student achievements that we're already accomplishing in the district with marketing. But maybe just, and you did clarify that by saying, but maybe we could have an update on some of the former goals that we put in to see where we are, and just so the board understands we haven't forgotten about past goals, but these are some of the new initiatives that we will be looking at to move forward. It's rather ambitious, I think. So, is everyone happy with this?
So how do we want to narrow?
It is a little ambitious, but I think I think some of it is already the work we're doing. For instance, we're going to continue to measure the effectiveness of our. So I wouldn't. That's ongoing. That's going to be ongoing for a number of years. The cost effect. I don't know that you have to make that goal. We're going to be doing that. We are doing that. We're looking for every cost efficiency we possibly can when we devise the budget, and we want to be sure that we tie that to our, maybe just reword 1 through 6 and present it to him.
I think between Joyce and I and Craig, we can help you out.
I think the comments of the goals is everything.
I mean, I look at some of this and sitting here and saying place a high priority on effective professional development. Well, that's pretty much in your district theory that we just went through. Ensure Common Core, again, that's part of that also. And So if there's a way that we could, I don't want to use the squeeze because it's going to make it sound like I'm, trying to take away from its potency, but if there's a way that we can word that and incorporate the district theory in it, it would make it maybe not. Thanks. Which I'm not tonight. I had to read a lot
I think
tonight.
we have some good input that we can come back at our silver meeting with around to streamline this. I think there are a couple of straight here that we can drop. That's ongoing work.
Right.
That's no problem.
And then we can focus in on a few of the new initiatives and try to establish that. Thank you.
Jody, what about, I think last year when we were going to better communication and townwide communication, that we're going to continue doing that, right?
Oh, yeah, that doesn't drop off.
Okay.
Right, and that was a piece on the marketing.
So maybe include other ones so we can just refresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can pull together what we've done the last few years.
Seasonal ads,
Yeah, we'll do that.
There was a piece last year that looking at we decided that the policy not to do was the new requirement of finance classes and requirements, so that would be, I think, the referring to that would go back to them from last year.
We'll give you a roster of the last couple of years.
But I think we're on the right track. We're trying to.
We'll give you the previous goal.
Okay, thank you very much. And that will take us to our adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Kevin, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are now officially adjourned. And board members, anyone who needs a little practice with the email account, save time.